It's the middle of winter and your forced air kerosene heater just quit. What do? Well, you fix it. Today in the Shade Tree Garage, we're going to look at how easy these things are to troubleshoot and fix. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, guys, this is my 185,000 BTU forced air kerosene heater. Now, this heater I've got a 1,100 foot square garage and it'll heat it okay. Now, my metal building is uninsulated, so it's a little oversized for this size building. Smaller heaters say they'll heat the same square footage, but I have quite a bit of air infiltration from outside. So anyway, these heaters are really all based on the same principle, and they all can be repaired easily. So let's take the hood off this thing and see what we got here. All right. The most expensive part of this heater is this fan. Now, on a lot of smaller heaters, the fan sits in a tray or carriage that lays on top of these rails. On this one, it's bolted in. Now, the fan, of course, has two purposes. Number one is that blade forcing the air out. And this other part back on the back, this is an air pump. And you can see there's a fixture on the side, or an air fitting, and a rubber tube that goes down into the tank at the bottom, and it forces fuel out the front here. Let me move the camera up a little bit, maybe you can see it. All right, it forces air up into an injector nozzle that shoots a spray of fuel in past this combustion chamber, if you will. And there's an igniter that fires so many times a second when your stove is operating, and it keeps the flame running. Some smaller stoves use a spark plug. This one has a special igniter. Larger ones usually do. Now, this stove quit on me just as our cold weather arrived, and took the cover off. And what I found was pretty interesting. I found that this blade separated from the hub. Now, the hub, I'll show you a close-up. This is what I found. The fan had broken off of its mount on the front of the motor. It hadn't hit anything, it just came off. Is two pieces, and the metal hub of the fan is actually captured between two pieces of aluminum here on the hub. The hub has an insert that actually holds the fan blade in place, clamps it in, and then these two set screws will clamp the blade to the motor shaft. This is the hub of the fan that used to be in the heater you're here operating now. All right, it's two Allen head set screws. That's the size of the shaft. Now, you can see, if I can get this to focus, you can see that there's an inner part of the bushing and an outer part, and sandwiched between those was the hub of the fan that used to live there. And I'm not sure if it was defective or just it was its time to tear apart. Started it up, tried to start it 10 days ago, and all hell broke loose, and the fan, it wouldn't start. The heater wouldn't heat. But the motor was running like crazy. But the motor didn't have a fan blade on it. So that's what happened. All right, so when you start it, the motor engages, it pressurizes the tank, fuel sprays out the nozzle, and is ignited by the igniter. And that's how it should work. Now, also over here at the lower left, there's an electric eye, some sort of light sensor, and it's there to detect the stove operating correctly. If there's flame, there's light, and so if it doesn't ignite within about 8 seconds, the stove will just quit. So if you have a stove that when you turn it on, you hear the fan running, and you may be getting fumes or vapor out the front, you can smell kerosene or diesel fuel, whichever fuel you prefer, and nothing happens, the stove will shut down. And so that could be a problem with the igniter or spark plug, whichever you have. Um, but these are really simple. There are many, I won't go into big detail about troubleshooting. There's lots of videos about how to fix these things. Now, just be aware that in the wintertime, people will be selling these at a premium because it's cold weather, and especially if it's operational. If it's not operational, maybe you can get a deal. There'll be a lot of people that like to fix these. And so just be aware of, if you get one, make sure it's worth the money. These actually sell fairly inexpensively. I've looked on Facebook Marketplace. I found a 35,000 BTU, a smaller heater than this, for $40, and worked. And I almost bought that while I was waiting for parts to come on this. But the only problem I had was this fan broke, and so I got the new fan blade in about 5 days later, and put it on, and it's worked fine since. Here on the back of the motor is the air pump, and the air pump on this one has a gauge. Smaller ones often do not, but it also has an adjustment, and there's a spec in the manual on how much air pressure should be visible on the gauge, and you adjust. This is the adjustment for that. There's also an air filter right here, a foam filter. So anyway, I will tell you that in repairing these things, the motor is the most expensive component. You can get the igniter for under $20. The fan blade was under $20. And then another trouble area for older stoves is, you see, this is the fitting from the air pump, goes down into the tank. This rubber tubing can over time, it'll get hard and crack. So if your air pump is losing air through a crack, it's not going to pressurize the tank, and you'll get a stove that either will not ignite at all, or spotty, intermittent. All right, guys. Well, that's a story with mine. Now, one caveat: if you're going to buy one to repair, now you can't see it on this one, but there is a control board on the side here inside this case. There's a switch, and there's well, I hate to call it a thermostat, but it is. You can set how much warmth the stove puts out. Now, there's no degrees on it. It's not like a thermostat, but once it gets up to a certain temperature level, the stove will cycle off. And then once it drops back down to a certain level, it kicks back on, which is a nice feature. These stoves can be had worth the money. Just don't buy one where this control board has been cut or removed, because that's not something you really want to replace. In most cases, it's going to be hardware. The motor is the most expensive part. If you have a problem with one, or it's missing control board or the motor, you may be able to find one, a used one, another used one, and make a good stove from two part stoves. These are originally designed to run on kerosene, which has some odor, but not objectionable. Now, the alternative fuel you can use, and I use, is diesel fuel. And there's a simple reason why. It's more than $2 a gallon cheaper than kerosene. And so, yeah, I am a cheapskate. I'll admit that. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I'm going to button this thing back up, and we will fire it up and get some heat back in this garage. Well, that's all from the Shade Tree Garage. Stay warm, guys. And I'm looking for spring.